2022. We'll start Commissioners meeting to order and mission and vision.
I can do it.
Thank you.
The Louisville Metropolitan Park District mission statement: to provide a welcoming public aquatics facility managed in a fiscally responsible manner with a focus on educating all ages in the lifelong skills of water safety. We carry out the mission with the board and staff who are compassionate, inclusive, and responsive to the needs of our diverse community. Foster positive and lifelong experiences of aquatic vision statement: contributing to the quality of life for our community, for future generations through welcoming, fun, safe, and positive aquatic experiences at Happy Couple of Pool.
Thank you. Would like to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A roll call. Start from my right.
Commissioner Stahl present.
Excuse me. Did you want to be fair? Not on the right. Oh, it's going. Please, that's racist. No, that's. Sorry. Oh. It's okay for the president.
Commissioner should not present.
Commissioner, that's all my present. And we are joined by our executive director, Brett Barton, and our program manager, Anastasia Schindler. I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The employee of the month, who would like to speak to Andre?
I can do that. Andre is pretty new with the team. He has been doing both swim instructing, lifeguarding. He's been doing a great job at both. He's been covering our midday, so he's been a lot of help. Our opening shift, our most critical shift. So he has been stepping up and supporting. And we just want to appreciate Andre's ability to learn and grow and take on different roles at the Tukwila Pool.
Great, thank you so much.
How long have you been with us?
Less than a year. I want to say 6 months, maybe.
Student or adult?
He is graduating this year, I believe, but he's in Running Start.
Thanks, Ed Hospital.
No, I think it's at Highline School District. Yeah.
Which is also Canara. Yeah. The citizens' comments, I saw a couple of. They're in your packet. If is there any comments on the comments? It's always great to have them, with verbal and written.
I'm curious if if when you get a particular comment, for example, about Ahmed, do you make a note or put a copy of this in his file? Just so that when you do his review, you have information available that people have made good comments.
I have not, but we can start adding it to the.
Look, it's great.
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel like that's for hours. Often enough, so that's good.
And I would also recommend for the feasibility, we need that when you get comments about how awesome the pool is and how clean, that we capture those in a spreadsheet or something, so that, you know, when we do outreach, that we have it, you know, wouldn't be having it up, we actually have backup. Just a thought.
No, that's really good. Okay, thank you. Any other comments? No, we'll move on to the consent.
The consent agenda?
Second. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Moving on to reports. Start with our executive director, Brett Harpin.
Just two pieces, to just, reinforce that I shared. The district court position has been filled with a start date of May 19th. Emily will be joining us, we'll begin her onboarding with us on Monday. And then, draw your attention down to Washington State Auditor's Office, just so everybody's aware, our annual report we typically do kind of towards May of every year. That report has been filed and completed. Typically due by May 31st, but it has been submitted, which also supports our 3-year financial audit that is in progress and expected to be. She thinks late June, early July, she may have a final report available to us when she gets back from her vacation, which then supports the ongoing work within our feasibility study and figuring out our credit rating, should we go to bond or bond. So just wanted to draw your attention there. No other questions or no other comments? No report items.
Does anyone have any questions for Brad?
Brad, when is the, recreational, whatever that group is called, when is their conference, and are you going, or did it happen? Did you go?
WRPA has a conference, I believe, in June, out east, but their educational topics are not of interest.
Oh,
Just doesn't align with kind of where we're at working on. NRPA, National Recreation Parks Agency, has a conference this fall that has development educational topics. Very much aligned with what they're working on and discussing. That one, you'll be registered for.
right.
Oh, that's a question for Brad.
Actually, can I circle back now? Because since you've kind of been attending board meetings outside of our typical routine, if anyone finds value in the conference, I just want to make it clear, the conferences aren't specifically dedicated to staff. So if there's an area or an educational piece that aligns with not only board, committees, or staff, training opportunities are open to all in our district, including our church. So just wanted to throw that. So if there's ever interest, I might not find a benefit for operations, but there may be a benefit from a volunteer or a commissioner support. So just keep an open mind there if you're ever interested. I'll take dog, I thought it's clear. Stop recording.
Oh, good. So moving on to operations.
Yeah, just want to highlight a couple of key areas as well. So our water safety event is coming up this weekend on Saturday from 1 to 3. So far we're almost full, but we have that coming up. We have Washington Kayak Club partnering, as well as Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority here to do an educational piece with us. And so I want to go on to the community outreach section. So I just want to confirm we are doing water safety at Thorndike on June 2nd and 3rd. I have reached out to Cascade View and Tukwila Elementary, haven't gotten a response yet. So we'll see if they respond. But hopefully they'll get us in the schedule next year. And then we did receive the grant for the USA Learn to Swim. It was $12,000. So we have 3 days to confirm if that's happening or not. I did meet with Gabe last week to see what opportunities are there, and there's definitely opportunity. And so we just have to creatively figure out the registration process, which I don't actually think will be that difficult. It's mostly the waivers and such. So we definitely have support. Gabe is very interested. I'm very interested. So I think we can definitely make it happen this summer and fall. And then I did attend the provider meeting. This one wasn't quite relevant to us, but the next one we'll be presenting our swim lessons, scholarship info, other summer opportunities. So that'll be coming up in June as well. And I just wanted to highlight that some social workers have reached out from some schools for resources. So I'll be reaching out to all of the social workers at all of the schools to make sure they all have the same information. And then last but not least, the King County Youth Amateur Sports Grant. We finished applying for that on May 5th. We requested $92,000 for the voucher program. So we'll hopefully hear back by October. somewhere around there.
So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, preliminary at least. So.
And I would just, shout out to Anastasia. I mean, she was a star taking this on. It was a big ask. The, with everything that she was juggling at the same time, really appreciate the effort that went forth in that. So thank you so much.
Sure, thank you. And on Matthew's behalf, I just want to mention that he is doing the Foster High School CPR class this semester. This is more of a shortened course with just adult first aid CPR, because we will flush it out more next year. This is a new teacher, so but just wanted to highlight that on his behalf. And our summer schedule is almost done. So that's it.
Does anyone have any questions for us as well? I just have a question. Are you seeking volunteers for water safety?
For this event, we don't need any volunteers. I like to empower my WSIs, my water safety instructors, to take this one on. I think it's a good opportunity for them to really step out. In the future, I would like to get community volunteers who are like Puget Sound, kayak. Those are all great examples. And then hopefully Red Cross next year to help us with our CPR station. Yeah.
our volunteers are still encouraged.
Yes, yeah, of
Okay,
course,
just-
yes. I'm saying there are no gaps that need to be filled, but please still come if you would like to, please. There is always something I can find that needs to be done, or if you just want to come say hi, and join in on a station, that would also be awesome.
So were you gonna send anything out and give Docs, to come on? But you might want to send out a message to say, you know, if you wanna come, there, you know,
Yeah.
we'd love to have. If you're not available, we understand. Are we having meetings that day?
Yes, yeah, we'll still meet, that one, I think we are meeting at the pool, because there is something happening at the, community center that day, so we'll be.
Our meeting on Saturday? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that,
Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna fire determination tomorrow.
oh, and then.
So communication will go out tomorrow. So please just be patient. We will most likely not meet
Nope.
just that because the meeting spaces are not available. But I just want to make sure throwing opportunity. So tomorrow there will be confirmation. Yes.
So if the school district is okay with the pool district using the meeting room on Saturday, I can let people in and make sure the alarm is set, so just that. But in any case, whether we move the meeting or don't have the meeting, I think it would be really good that something go out to volunteers, you know, to TPAC, just to say, hey, you know, just to let them know, because if we don't have any kind of communication, my concern is that they're gonna feel, you know, sad and slighted and ignored. And we don't ever want that. It's just my, I don't know, do you have any input? Vanessa?
Yes.
Yeah, we can discuss.
Okay, great.
Yeah, leadership meeting with this.
No problem. Awesome. But if you do end up, you know, because I know you're meeting with the school board tomorrow, and if you happen, I mean, I'm happy to, you know, I'm happy to let us in and.
Yeah, I'll ask a little bit. I just, as much as we have this discussion of leadership, I still think there's an opportunity, which is why I've been slowly just rolling this over. I don't want to get in the habit. Last year we canceled a number of meetings because they fell on event dates. And I think there's missed opportunities when we go a month to 2 months without it. So, I mean, I will put communication out tomorrow once I put some thought to it.
No problem.
And I will connect with Laura. Millie. Gotcha. Thank you.
And like, I'll just depend on the meetings.
I guess my other thing, which is like a usual question too, is there any other events going to the stadium or auditorium, thing that would work on parking, to have people volunteer to do that? And in order to have overflow parking stuff set up and figured out with the district.
I have communicated to Gabe several times, but I've not heard from him if there was another event happening that day. He said he would get back to me. We met on what, Thursday? He said he would get back to me on what that looks like, but as far as I know, no. So I'm not sure. So, but I will reach out to him just to confirm.
Alright, any other questions for Anastasia? And also, thank you for the binders.
Yes,
Really appreciate
definitely,
that.
very nice.
I hope they're more of a resource versus just a bunch of printed stuff. Yeah.
That is helpful. So moving on to TPAC. Who would like to take? Fair.
Very. Or you there.
Please, someone who would like to.
Go ahead, Kyle's online.
So. You were online,
Please.
you and Sharon were online and, TPACs went well. We talked about, spent quite a bit of time talking about the grant and the grant submission. Like, did that go out to TPAC members? I know there was discussion.
The grant submission?
The grant. So people, because I know there was discussion about.
No, it's a TPAC.
Yeah, there you go, it went out. Sorry. And we talked about the summer schedule and Anastasia was there, because we all know that she was getting ready for her meeting. And we talked about operations and, yeah, it went well.
Are there any, comments for TPAC? Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to the finance committee, Jared.
We met on the 28th and we reviewed, which are in the packet later for approval, housekeeping for policies 25, 530, 540, and 511, which are in the packet for tonight. Just housekeeping, just really basic. Policy 505 and 515 were moved to the future finance meeting, knowing that there's still more work to be done into those. Then there was Executive Director Brad talked about the follow-up with the data center future conversation regarding these buildings. Bonds, okay. And then you spoke, and then Vanessa spoke briefly about the white salmon NPD. Which is very interesting regarding school district property and parking and agreements and stuff like that. Next meeting is on May 27th, which is a Tuesday after Memorial Day, so it's a holiday. At 5 o'clock.
Are there any questions for finance committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to programming and marketing.
Okay, so I thought that meeting too. We talked about, Anastasia, Kim was there, thank you, Anastasia. And we talked about, program updates, and we had, Anastasia introduce that awesome report that she had here last year. And people gave some feedback on that. I think the TPAC, I think the PMOC members really enjoyed that. I think everyone's both, but I think the introduced. And then there was discussion on the Learn to Grant swim ground and also discussion about, and that's that volunteer grant, that's the, swim program.
The third grade.
The third grade, right. And then we also talked about the light, the middle school thing. And they're excited, everybody's excited about that. And then we had a marketing discussion and presented the water safety, flyer and people told what they thought of it, they just elected some pictures, blah, 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 things. So yeah, and when the next meeting is a TBD, which we will, Brad will determine. Brad will determine.
To go ahead.
So, yeah. And also talked about, there was the Easter egg or spring egg contest and all that, and kind of review. So. That's all I got.
Thank you. Is there any questions regarding?
The only comment I have is, it looks like on the PMOC meeting that Matthew's last name is missed up. On the minutes,
Don't tell me.
I think it's missing an issue.
Don't tell me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw, yeah. We're just gonna pretend that.
All right, any questions or anything? Moving on to FFC, and yes, I put a now to date my date, it should have said May 12th. So, you see the report, Brad summarized our meeting in its TSD that we met with, and we have an SFC kickoff, just logistics kind of meeting tomorrow at 1, just to kind of start setting some dates and some benchmarks and logistics of what it's gonna look like. Our next meeting is May the 20th at 4 PM. We kind of moved it away from Mondays just because we're ending up being on every single Monday, so we're moving it to the third Tuesday instead. Let's see how that works for a while, just some of us work on every single Monday, so. Let's give people a little bit of a break after that. Any questions for feasibility? Seeing that, move on to business item A, finance. Oh, Jerry, do you want to address this? No, just Brad.
Sure, well, we put all the policies into one, I mean, so, and again, they were just housekeeping updates from Chief Director of Aquatics Operations or District Clerk to Executive Director or Board Designee. Those were the only changes to any of these policies. There was nothing else, and there's a red line version that shows for all of them. And then we did discuss for future to keep in mind when we're updating policies, when it's referenced, when a policy is referencing another number, that we make sure that those policies are updated also with the same. You were talking about doing a policy index or something like that.
So the policy index we currently have on file, Christine did a great job back where she had one document list of all the policies. That will get modified, so that way any policy that shares a relationship with another policy will have a little designation, so we have the reminder. If we're gonna touch X, we also need to consider X and X. So that will get updated and then provided at finance by the next meeting for review. Especially as it relates to the financial policies, but we're gonna do that for all policies. So we'll have one in the document that we'll use as a.
Yeah, let's make, we can do it all in, one, yeah, because it's just housekeeping.
Did you guys have something?
There's something we can, after discussion. Just.
Okay, let me make a motion to approve policies 511, 525, 530, or wait, we have to read them first.
We're just gonna,
Okay,
see, just because it's all housekeeping.
okay. Motion to approve policies 511, 525, 530, 530.
Commissioner Stahl, second.
Discussion. So Brad, remind me on page 56,
54. Oh, there it is.
540,
Story.
refunds and reimbursements. Can you remind me why we lost the bullets? And just did paragraph?
It's the one that you combined.
Yeah, it's the one we had discussion, it was broken out into two sections and it was just repeating essentially. There was no real.
Down to the, sorry, into the line version. Sorry, thanks. So all I was asking is, is a paragraph more helpful than, because it's, yeah.
Two sections.
Two bullets, that's, like, I know we talked about something and I can't.
I remember you saying it seemed more like a procedure than a policy or something like that. Or somebody else may have said that there.
I was curious. That's, it says the exact same thing.
It does.
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
So,
And I do remember.
yeah,
I think it could go fit the same format as the others.
right.
Break it off. Right.
That's exactly right. Is there any further discussion on any of these?
It's a sticky one, but just kind of like, curiosity or thinking was, on some of the ones that were, get changed out from. Let's say like, 525.
Which page?
47.
47.
47.
Yeah, just like words like where we like, got rid of, like words like the director of aquatic operations is now executive director and or district administrator. It just says like board designee.
Yeah, that's
Can we-
consistent.
What's that?
Board can designate.
Whoever, but I'm wondering, like, I get that. It should be like TPMPD board, just because later on in here you have like said intervals, it's like on 250. Or the 240.
On page 56.
Or, yeah, page 56, 3.1 for the bullet point,
For which one?
sorry, 3.2 on page 56. That it's like, positive on the TPMD, executive director, bookkeeper, and or. What I mean, it's not the same.
Well, so this is this would be different because of the function of the policy, because it's to do with reimbursements versus,
Well, I get that, but I mean, as far as like, just so, I know it sounds like stupid, but just that if there is like definitely who the district is, who the board is. I mean, I think we all know, but.
So I'm confused. So this is the TPMPD policy. So clearly it's the TPMPD
Yeah,
board
which is
that.
fine, so I would say like, so. So you're just saying the difference is, it's just because of
Well, I believe on page
being more
56.
of a policy. Or the way to.
Well, on page 56, if you're talking about it, saying executive director, bookkeeper, and or board designee. And if you're coming in, well, maybe it should say TPMPD board designee.
No, but that's what I'm saying, it says VTP and the executive director, bookkeeper.
Oh, I see.
Right, but all the other locations, same. So either one.
so
We'll just, yeah,
We
I can
can-
just use.
strike the TPMPD. Right? Let me just see, let me just make sure.
Well, clearly it's
Yeah.
TPMPD executive director.
So let's just strike, we can,
Strike it from
They have to
page
do it,
56.
I mean, and it's kind of the same like on that one too, like for the 3.2.2 on that one where it's like TP and BD. Just like.
That's been tried. That tricky,
a little,
that one we found out.
Who's the district treasurer?
that's the
Yeah.
count.
Oh,
We
Yeah, we
designate
have-
different. That one actually is a funny thing. So
oh.
I would,
I would prefer it stays.
yeah, I do too. Make it on the,
After like 45-minute discussion, wanted to say that.
yes,
Yeah.
because we tried to redo the policy.
The 515, whatever the 5, there, the other one, I put 505, the district treasurer, that one.
But can you say TPMPD designated district treasurer?
So no,
Okay.
I'm just.
It was, we did have a very lengthy conversation.
Well,
Okay, I believe
I
it.
started her, and then I was very much.
No, that's, yes, might be little, I guess.
Once we get that, once they get that in front of you, it'll make more sense, but, that was not right. Because of,
Okay.
So we'll go back to,
so it's strike
Yeah,
the
like I said,
TPM.
this is just out of my like ignorance, I think she written, said that it's the, Tacoma Metropolitan Park District treasure.
Oh, don't even start.
I mean,
So when we
that
get to
means that it's supposed to be written.
We will look at it.
so
Because it's district treasurer, not the treasurer of the TPMD. It's really, it's really specific on.
Yeah, so. Wording that's. Even though it looks,
that was a.
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Good eye.
So just to confirm, as to strike the TPMD that begins.
Under 3.3.
3.2, right in front of executive director. Yeah. Under procedure, 3.2.
Andrew, correct. If we're right.
Yes.
So we just say the bookkeeper.
But, no, I don't think you're looking, it should just say deposit account, period, and executive director, comma, bookkeeper and or board designee will ensure that. Take out the TPMP.
Yeah,
One above it.
Oh, sorry.
TPMP.
Oh,
just
okay.
put sent to the bookkeeper who will post the transactions to the correct jail.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so we can strike, we can do that simple housekeeping if we're okay.
So are you saying you're gonna remove TPMP?
Just-
TPMP.
just be
for
consistent.
You're, yeah, district treasurer.
3.1,
Three
I'm
point
going
one.
to remove TPMPD and just keep bookkeeper. And then 3.2, we're going to strike the TPMPD and it'll read period, executive director, bookkeeper, board designee.
No, it would be the executive director, that would stay. Right? Because executive director will ensure the
That-
executive, that makes
It's
sense.
gonna be because it starts with the second, it's about.
Yes.
We got you.
Are you making fun of how I'm producing things now?
There is a rule difference between the and
The.
is based off of, I guess, the first, next of the letter, or the next word.
I'm sorry. Just let it go.
They can release that.
So that's housekeeping, doesn't need to be in there. Is there any further discussion on it? All in favor of approving policies 511, 525, 40 as stated. Motion, say aye. All those opposed? Okay, passed. Legislative updates. That would be rough.
No comment, just any questions?
Session's over. And any questions for Brad regarding legislative session? All right, so moving on to commissioner reports and your position for those members. Just a quick report out, and I know that you've probably heard about this. You all received information in your inbox. Brad, Jerry, and I would like to, but Brad, Jerry, and I are going to be attending the TSD's question and answer period tomorrow, the 13th of May at Tuesday at 5 p.m. is when we've been asked to be there, and it's to address the memo that was presented that we informally discussed at our meeting at the end of April, and this is to formally answer questions that the board of the Teteko School District Board may have of the TPMPD. We, like I said, it's all in your inbox to correct the misconceptions that were presented. So, that's the end of my report. Commissioner, who's number 2? Me? Do you know?
I'll be at the meeting tomorrow. Right. Before I pick the school district, like, in the meeting. I would like to have a discussion, and I'd set another meeting, or just regarding the PMOC, TPAC.
So that's kind of miscellaneous versus.
Okay, right. Then I have no more report.
We can move the circle around to you.
Okay,
Andrew?
No report.
Jerry?
I'll give this quick meeting tomorrow, and my report.
And Aaron?
I'll have to go to school board meeting tomorrow too.
Yeah.
To say that, or.
And so moving.
No, sorry, the meeting is at 5 tomorrow.
We are asked to be there at 5, it actually starts at 3, so they've got quite a lengthy discussion for, it's a work session.
Oh.
School, so we are asked.
Thank you.
We're moving on to miscellaneous, email.
yeah, I'd like to discuss, PMOC and TPAC and, just kind of what the vision is and how we can engage people and, make it purposeful for them and make it helpful to the pool. One of the things that, has come up is, as far as like project-based, and Brad's always talked about project-based. And I think that's good, but we need to have, like projects, or maybe we, kind of just go back to, done in a day and people can sign up. It seems that we've been doing what we've been doing for a long time, and we're kind of just doing it because, in my opinion, because we've always been doing it, and I don't know how effective it is. And, I hate to waste, the school operations time on a Saturday and, to come and do, stuff that I don't know that we're getting a lot of value. So I'd like to kind of just bring that topic back up and have some discussion about what we see. I mean, I know what the history is, and I know how, how important, TPAC has been, in the past, and how, meaningful it is for members. But I think it might be time to, revisit, and I know that, some of the things that I've been, reminded is that, like, especially boards for like the Y, or, bigger organizations, they tend to be fundraising boards, and that's not what's gonna happen. We don't, I know that, that we have a group of people who can be herded, not like cats, but actually will actually be very productive if given something that they can really see go through a process. And, some of that, I mean, to my mind, feasibility came up as something, that, that I can see them being very interested in and excited about. And, the same thing with PMOC, it's kind of like, it feels in a sense, and maybe it's just me, and maybe I just step away, just feels kind of, rushed. We're just doing it to do it, and it doesn't necessarily, I don't want to waste, your guys' time to come on a Saturday. I don't want to waste my time on a Saturday if we're not actually, getting some joy and making some, changes. And so I know I've been bringing this up for a couple of years now, so I guess it's still an issue for me. And I like to hear what other people have to say.
So do we want to have this as an agenda item in June? Versus a miscellaneous tag at the end of the meeting, and to be able to talk to our feedback members and,
Well, we don't know if we're part of it. I mean,
we can reach out.
we can.
I'll do twofold, actually. I think it's a great thing since we have our commissioners in front of us. If anyone has anything to share, I'm here to reaching out and go into any discussion. So I think it's a great segue. It doesn't have to be long. Is there any immediate thoughts based on what Ellen's brought to the table? Because it is a conversation that we're all having. And she's absolutely correct when you're talking about it now for almost 2 years, that there is a disconnect in the purpose and its vision and what are we showing up to accomplish. And it's not just operations and or PMOC and TPAC members, it's a combination of both feeling the same way. And so if there is any immediate feedback or feelings that we can quickly get into, just see what is immediately on folks' minds at a long session back later. So yeah. Anybody have any thoughts or feedback to what was brought to the table?
My experience with PMOC is very limited. The few times I've gone, it's just not my cup of tea, so I don't have anything on that. TPAC though, it definitely just seems like, for the most part, it seems like it's just another informational session where I appreciate our TPAC members, but just, it does not seem like a fruitful amount of time or use of time. But I don't know. I don't know the solution to it.
Jerry?
No, I have to agree with what Ellen said, is that it's not a good use of time and resources that are available. And we talked about just recently about coming up with goals and, the schedule, you know, having out the work plan for finance, and now we have the work plan for program and marketing, that the SH has done. Those kind of things, I think those are some little babies to get us moving in the right direction. I think that it has kind of gone off course from what TPAC originally started as. And I know that the people are compassionate and passionate about the goal. So yeah, I think that it's definitely a conversation that needs to be.
Karen?
I mean, I think I'm in agreement with everybody. And I don't think, I don't know, I feel like my word of the week or whatever is like historically, where it's like, you know, historically things have changed, like, you know, I think, you know, people like, you've been with us now for, you know, 6 years almost. And I mean, even in that time, it's like, oh man, like, things have changed so much in like time period that like Andrew doesn't necessarily even see like what TPAC was doing, you know, previously when he came in, and for me, it's like 12, you know, not 6 to 8 years old, you know. Right, and then, you know, seeing what TPAC was before that, so it is kind of watching like an evolution of what it is, but then also like kind of like a de-evolution of what it was doing, where it is seem to be getting less and less task oriented and becoming more things. And I think, you know, unfortunately, that is, you know, I mean, due to TPAC, I think it's due to change of management and administration over, you know, the past, you know, however many years now. And so I think you guys are particularly to take a look at and to talk with them about what it is, you know, because I think that Alan said, like, if tasks are given, I think that people are willing to do the tasks, but we have to find out what those tasks are. And what is the purpose of those?
So I'm hearing work plan, just talk with TPAC about what they would like to see.
And I think, sorry, and so as far as with TPAC, and I agree with PMOC, I think there is that same, a little bit too, where again, like, you know, especially like when Alan will do like PMOC, you know, however many years ago, you know, and all of us, you know, we were sitting around, we were actually going through and making up every single flyer that was going out quarterly and having deadlines. This, and each of the flyers that were going out for each of the events every single month. I think it's just, you know, I mean, there was a lot more on the plate at that point in time that we were doing that we have, but slowly we wanted to, you know, allow, you know, the staff to be able to.
Or to an oversight committee
Right.
versus a work.
Right.
And so that is a conversation for TPAC, it's an advisory. So, you know, how to advise, how is it best, how do they feel best to advise us? What are their passions to advise us, but also what would we like to get to seek advice on?
I mean, even such like first, like, you know, like how much like the first, like how many years, like we're just like reviewing policy. Because there were so many policies, every meeting was like reviewing policy and everybody works within the policy. And I'm well, pretty good, we're just like, you know, updating 1 or 2 words, you know, housekeeping type stuff into the policies now. So it's like, you know, I mean, you know, good on everybody for getting us to the point where we're at now, but it, you know, that was like, you know, one thing that significantly changed that we could for that.
I think that this all supports one of the reasons why there's reluctance to want to cancel the next meeting. Thank you for bringing this up, because this is where I continue to pause, because our last meeting it was, we need to discuss this. And we need to figure out how to best utilize our current volunteers' times, and we need to figure out what does recruitment and advertisement and initial push out to get new volunteers and stuff. I think that's another piece of this component is we have committees, I think, that we need to start seeing other folks join, and even myself, and the operations team and the district as a whole, we're not thinking in a strategic priority. We just aren't. We have been so focused on going. We start a project and we just go full on. Next project and we go full on. And I think where we struggle as an organization right now, which is what one of my goals is supposed to be this year, once we get our staffing leveled out, is I want to finish each of those goals. Let's wrap some things up and put a bow on some things and continue to move forward with purpose. And I think that's what we need to start figuring out is what are our annual priorities? And that's the board retreat. Board retreat and TPAC needs to be a part of that. These are those things that allows us to agree and design annual priorities, and we have to be okay with a little bit of flexibility to say these things, we're not gonna derail them, regardless of what comes our way. Everything else, we can take a look at. We need to remember what we agreed upon as our strategic priorities until they no longer are, due to whatever outside factors, but we have got to start really focusing on what the next 2, 3, and 5 years are. We have feasibility that is a major component, and the pieces of the feasibility study that feed into both committees. And I think that's gonna be my purpose with the committees, is how do we do that? And what does that look like? And I don't have an answer, and I'd love to hear TPAC, and I'd love to hear PMOC, because I can't envision that TPAC and PMOC members are excited to go and get exactly what we're providing here today. I think there is some desire to want to work on some things and bigger pieces. It's what are those pieces and how do we get that in front of folks?
Agreed.
We've talked about quite the strategic piece, and I think that is the missing link to us redefining our committees and our committee purpose.
So it sounds like what we need is kind of a strategic roadmap. Because right now, it feels to me like we're kind of floundering. And somebody will go, hey, wait a second, here's a squirrel we should follow. And it might be a good squirrel. But we're not putting bows on anything, we're kind of just jumping. And I can't speak for, Di or Jackie or, Sri Mom or Victor or, I do better when I've got a goal. And when, there's been like, I was talking, like, if, for example, we end up needing to look for property, that is actually something when we first set up as TP, we ended up having to do a ginormous binder and people were assigned tools and they were like, this is the information we need. Bring this information to us. And if the people were like, not my, I can't do that, like, no problem, then you won't worry about that. We're not gonna use you for that. We have a lot of, I just think that engagement, meaningful engagement is at least really important to me. And when I don't feel that, I'm sorry, I have a lot of different buzzers going on. When I don't feel like I'm, actually with purpose, then it just, it doesn't engage my passion. So, but, things like, there's all sorts of things that, and from a strategic standpoint, I think need to be looked at, like legacy, like, just so much, volunteer, books, when do we want to use volunteer, all of that. And as far as programming,
To be fair, fundraising, if it happened to be someone's thing.
absolutely.
I don't want to say it's never gonna be a thing, but.
No, obviously it would be great.
But I think that is a piece, and I think moving purpose strategically and identifying our work plan, our work goals to districts, and sticking to those until they can no longer be vetted or adopted or whatnot. We have to be okay flexing a little bit. We also have to be okay bringing things in and saying, now, based on everything going on, now is not the time for another, now is not the time for another program. Now is not the time to expand. I think we have to be okay saying, yes, let's go for it. No, let's not. Does it align with what we agreed upon as an organization? And when do we choose to make a return or a lifetime? And I think that's that purpose that allows us all to feel good coming to additional communities. I enjoy feasibility because we see I'm at the forefront of Knesset, so we get to see some of the exciting pieces, which keeps us engaged. How do we do that from a finance committee standpoint and TPAC and PMOC? They're important groups. That I don't think any of us disagree. It's what is the work that each of these committees can support and or be a part
I would say we even need to step back and look at, the people who are involved in them are definitely important. And we want to maintain relationships with all of the people. Are the groups important? I don't know. Have they served their purpose? Like Aaron was saying, I mean, PMOC used to be, we get together, we design it, we have discussion, we cut the Costco cake, we order the Costco. I mean, we did all that every, third.
Right, but I think the work session that needs to be, so what's gonna allow us to make that decision, because we're on CP. ICP is the one stewarding the overall event. I see PMOC essentially saying, this is the purpose of our event, we need to do X, Y, and Z. They're the ones that see helping design it behind the scenes and making sure everything's going with staff support, with eggs and collecting the final data, getting the information on the flyer, helping distribute, communicate, and getting it in. I see PMOC as a marketing, events, and other based things. We have folks that like those pieces, but PMOC can't own, for example, the finite details of the thing that goes into it. They can definitely design and be the architect that's focus around the execution as well. I think there's ways of looking at each of these committees differently. TPAC is essentially a pseudo. TPAC does need to be policy. TPAC should be the front line of budget. We should have a TPAC member at finance committee when we start digging into budget. So TPAC can bring this to the forefront and articulate this at a Saturday meeting. TPAC needs to be at the forefront and participatory at feasibility. Should be a TPAC member at feasibility. And TPAC needs to grow, right, in terms of its members, so we can have a liaison within some of these subcommittees. TPAC is a high-level group that can help look at the document that came from the school district and help us strategically think about what that needs to look like in the next steps, and or support from afar. There's just different ways of looking at it. I don't know the answer. It's gonna come down to the members, our current members, and where they see themselves participating, strengths and weaknesses. And then us understanding our gaps and trying to fill them with skill sets that align with the work that we're bringing to the table. What it will ultimately look like, which again, this may be a conversation for June. It may need to just be a meeting with TPAC and PMOC all together and chairs and board members, just to have a focus on this conversation. Committees, roles, purpose. Should just say, we have a challenge, we have an issue. Our issue is we are rudderless when it comes to our committees.
And I think that, I think it's interesting because in a way I almost do it. It's like you have to, it almost seems like you need to approach this two ways. The individual volunteers, like, I don't know if it's a questionnaire, I don't know what it is, but it's like, what do you want? What is it that you want to be involved in with the technical? What is it that you love that makes you excited? That's one answer. And then there's the answer, what does the Tukwila pool need from committees? And those, they may or may not match, but I think that in one sense, the pool needs, if all anybody wants to do is knit, potholders, it's kind of like, well, the pool doesn't really need potholders. Or maybe the pool could create potholders and sell them as a fundraiser. I don't know. I'm getting all excited about potholders, but I think that we need to, address it from a couple different ways. And, what the pool needs and what the people need, and have discussions and figure out, can they fit in, how can they fit in? Is it, do we do done in a days because some people just really like to garden or whatever it is, and that's great. And then it's not to dismiss them, but it's also to honor, maybe meeting Saturdays is not, and I'm not, I know I keep saying this, but it's really actually not something I'm trying to get rid of, but I'm just saying that that is a commitment that people are making, that if it's not worthwhile, then let's review it, and let's talk about it, let's figure out what is worthwhile. And Brad, I appreciate you saying that, it'd be great to have members come to like finance, come to feasibility, come, so that there's continuity instead of these separate silos.
This one's I keep pulling it back to, the name is advisory. So using that as, to remind,
The name could change though, too.
yes.
Yeah, we could start with what we do have as far as policies, et cetera, talking about team.
So Brad and I will work on, what that means, what a meeting looks like, whether it's part of our regular meeting, if we don't have a lot on June, rather than going in for an additional meeting. So we'll have a conversation and try to, bring this back in June in some form.
In
That's,
some form.
in some form, yeah.
We need to do it right, because
Yeah.
we're talking about this now over and over, a year, another year, and another year. We need to do it. So. Yes, we'll meet, and we'll discuss what this could look like, next steps, or what are the baby steps to getting some of the information and some of this answer to bring it back to a bigger meeting. Yeah, I'll be very curious to see how. If we can. Kind of. Figure this out.
Cause,
You have an aggressive, sorry, I keep sitting here thinking. We're doing feasibility study, we're doing part two, we want to develop. And what we choose to do needs to align not only with that goal. But our additional goal, which are programmatic goals, our community goals, our service goals, our youth goals, our adult, our health and wellness. There are all these goals wrapped around where we're trying to go in 3 to 5 years, and our communities need to be able to support those pieces. And I think that's the piece that we need to think about when we sit and have this discussion.
yeah, I agree. Thank you. for bringing that up. You've done. Is there any other conversation on this? Any other miscellaneous?
I have this, if I may, just health department stopped by today, we are satisfactory, as in that's good. And the bigger piece that came out of this, I am just gonna throw it out there, so we did budget to do some slide. Not sure what that's gonna look like or overall cost until we get into estimates, but the slide is no longer. To be utilized until the footings are fixed, replaced, or the bolts are addressed, those are all the bolts rusting on footings. So until those are addressed, and that is noted in our health inspection report. As an additional item. So slide is mission until further notice.
Got it, but no. Can't be. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
Please don't.
yeah, right. So that, I just wanted to give a quick miscellaneous update on that. And then the last miscellaneous I have, because we addressed it on last quarter, we did our big data dump. The addresses have been returned if you have not been made aware. So we will rerun Q1 data. And we'll present all of that in our Q2 findings. So more information to come, now that we have the addresses back in the system. Thank you for listening to those two pieces.
I just have one last miscellaneous, we do not have any vacant positions for our election. There's Jerry's running for her position and Andrew and another lady are running for positions, so we don't have to worry about the August special filing period. So. What did she say? I'm sorry. And we don't have to worry about August special filing period.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because there's like no vacant, so anyway, thank you again for both of you for all your continued work and. Well, we don't have an executive session tonight, so in a motion, thank you. With the motion,
I make a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Saul seconds.
any discussion on adjourning? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Devin,